this track.
Well, hi, Pirate Booty here. Closing up the battery episode, I wanted to kind of give you guys just a quick, concise thing of what I had to do. From the beginning, crappy battery placement, only two, corroded wires, etc. So, what I did, through the luck of I had to buy a third battery, but now that I had three. So what I did very quickly was build a shelf, and I had to put against the wall, the back of the boat aft, I had to put epoxy in the supports, and so I did that with fiberglass and resin, and then I just taped it overnight, and I did two of those. So going forward, I had the two beams, and they're resting on the gas tank, and so that all works fine. Then what I did was measure, cut, template the boards. You saw that. Got those in, painted everything white in there, pulled all the wires out of the way so I could get them once I put the batteries in. There was confusion because there's three black and one red. And I'll give you what I learned in real concise. You always have two posts on the battery, two positive, two negative. Now, go look at the two positive. One runs to your starter because it does exactly that. It starts the battery, right? And the alternator needs a second path and a second internal pass. So once the starter kicks in and disengages, the alternator will kick in and start charging your battery. Now, since I didn't know what the three black wires were, I had to just leave two of them out. And I finally figured out the black and red one that actually, and the engine started, but of course it said there was a starter, a warning came on. So I dug through my old pictures, came back, and what I thought was good, as soon as I put it in, arced. So I'm like, crap. But I have 50-50 because obviously four wires are go in some configuration. So I'm afraid to death I have burned the alternator out because I probably arced 7 times when doing those wires. And let me tell you, worry about fire and be safe because that got so hot it melted the actual lug, the lead lug that you clamp on the battery post, just almost dissolved that. And the wires got so hot you can't touch them. And the trouble is, as soon as you turn that switch on, be very alert and go back and touch those wires and don't bolt them down. Make sure you can pull them off quick if you ever in my thing. So now that I have it configured properly, I'm going to go back and get red tape and definitely red tape those two and the black. There should have been 2 reds and 2 blacks. People. Okay. Now, I put in the charger. The charger, that ProSport, is wonderful. Instantly it brings the batteries up from a 12.2 when I initially charged them. I mean 12.4 when I initially charged them, which is good. It brought them up to 13.3 and did a good full conditioning. This sulfates and removes sulfates from your battery. So I saw, even after I arced so much, this ProSport, wow, was perfect and fine. The engine bank, which is what was arcing so much, didn't even suffer a hit. And that brings that guy up from 12.7 to 13.37 in an hour. And I like that because that's what a proper 3-stage conditioning inverter and charger does. So don't go buy some dinky charger. This thing is professional. It wasn't bad. I think for the 20 amp and 3, 170. But 3 batteries. And the cables are already configured. Already got the ring terminals. You put them on. Ding, ding, ding. It was done. Third thing I did was the fuse, which was great. So I cut the fuse. I had my bolt cutter, so it made that heavy gauge wire a lot better and crimping. I had lug problems with short ones. So you'll see the video where there's a ring terminal. I'll replace that next week. So I'm very stoked and happy. The 3 batteries are in. Their new shelf. Everything's white. I have the charger charging. I have the all the main wires, the alternator and starter connected correctly. So the alternator is working fine. The starter is working fine. The engine cranked up like no tomorrow. I cannot be happier. I'll show you some pictures how things go. But long story short, the 10 days I took off, plus painting the boat, I'm so happy. Now, electrical configuration is so important, and I'll tell you why. from winches, GPS, navigation, lights. The battery is the backbone of everything. And so that's why I put in redundancy, fusing, and make sure everything is good. Now, once a month I'll check the water. That's why I have them where I can see them and get to it. So I was so concerned about getting proper battery and electrical back end. Now I'll be moving towards the front end. Now, safety note, you cannot put a fuse on the engine side because the alternator, that will disrupt the measurement of the alternator and cause that to be in an improper state and won't charge your battery. So, and that will burn out your alternator. Don't put a fuse in line with your alternator and starter. Just make sure you're like me and label those wires to what everything goes to and take a picture. I am good, so I can now move on forward with some other projects. So battery involved fiberglassing, painting, woodworking, AC, DC, and a whole array of things. Now that I have everything properly documented, I'm in a good movement. So with that, Fire Booty's happy. I'm charged to the hilt. I feel very good about my electrical system. I'm happy.
Well, that's all, folks.